Welcome to Locales Unknown. This podcast gives you the tools you need to choose your next travel destination and the tips you want to be able to explore like a local. Here are your hosts, Chris and Winfield.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Locales Unknown. Today, Winfield and I have the pleasure of speaking to Andrea Vela. She is coming to us from Melbourne, Australia, originally from Mexico. And I met Andrea through our mutual friend, Karen, who I happened to share a bus with when I was backpacking in New Zealand. So shout out to Karen. Thank you for the connection here. And more than that, thank you, Andrea, for spending the time with us here today and being able to shed some light on both Mexico City and a little bit about your business and travels.
Of course, yeah. Thank you so much, Chris and Winfield, for having me here today. And yeah, I'll try my best to give you the best tips and advices for traveling Mexico. And yeah, I will be also telling you a little bit about a project that a friend and I are developing at the moment relating to sustainable tourism. So yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
Really cool. Thanks again. So let's go ahead and kick it off. If you wouldn't mind shedding some light on your travels and tell us a little bit about your history.
Of course. Well, yeah, I'm originally from Mexico City, massive city, 23 million people, which is, quite a lot. And I guess for me, one day I just discovered travel as a way to just feel more free. And I remember my first backpack trip was by myself and to Europe, and that was a fantastic feeling. And from there, I was like, wow, the world is so big. I just want to discover what's there, and it's my own personal way of discovering the world. Like there's things that, movies and documentaries and even books can't tell you unless you experience them. So I guess that, it has always made me feel alive in a way. And it's a very good way to, understand about others and just being more tolerant. So, now here I am. I've been to 30 plus countries. And I've done a lot of travel also in my own country, which is super important as well. Like sometimes we forget about, visiting our own backyard, and our own place. But yeah.
That's awesome. You're absolutely right. So one, we obviously share that passion as co-hosting a travel podcast here. So we look forward to each and every time that we can get out there, a new place. There is nothing that compares to seeing things and experiencing them, while you're there. Documentaries, books, YouTube, they're all great. And maybe they help with inspiration, including this podcast. But to get there and see things for yourself and smell and visit the culture and just experience it is really everything. So this kind of comes at a perfect time because next week, actually the 28th of November, and we're shooting this on the 18th of November, I'm going to be spending 24 hours in Mexico City. So if you don't mind, I'm going to be writing some notes here because I have a good day there that I need to kill on a layover on my way down to see Winfield in Brazil. And I'm going to be utilizing all these tips. So maybe we can turn our attention to Mexico City and you can give us some tidbits on what to do, where to go.
Yeah, perfect. Of course. Well, I think Mexico City obviously has a lot to offer. So it depends a lot on, what's the kind of, activities that you prefer doing. So probably I'll touch a couple of them and then, you can choose whatever you want. Obviously 24 hours is not a lot, but you can still see some places. So look, if you are into like museums and stuff like that, you should know like Mexico City is one of the cities with the most amount of museums in the world. So you can pretty much find museums about everything you can think of, like from like chocolate, comic books. We have the museum that is the one that has more visitors during the year is the National Museum of Anthropology. And that is very, very interesting and also very important for the history of Mexico and also all the pre-Hispanic cultures. So that's a very interesting one. You will see the Stone of the Sun, which is in the main hall. It's a fantastic. It tells about all the cosmogony of the Aztecs or Mexicas, which started the civilization around like Mexico City. So yeah, probably that's one. The other thing you can't miss, obviously, is the food. So we have fantastic food in Mexico in general, and in Mexico City you will find stalls in the street everywhere, pretty much. And well, my favorite is obviously the tacos al pastor. I don't know if you know about this. It's based on the Lebanese shawarma. So it's like it's pork, and it's pinned sort of on a spit. So it's like real kind of pork, and yeah, you can find it in different places. But I can recommend going to a very interesting one, which is like it's called El Bilsito, and this place in the morning and in the afternoon is like a mechanic garage where they fix the cars, and then at night it turns into this amazing taqueria, and it's just so Mexico like how people just try to create businesses like that. Like it's so clever how they do and how their business models work like. So it's just fantastic. That's a fantastic thing to do. And yeah, well, I guess if you would have more time, I would totally recommend going to nature. That's something that I love, like hiking and all those things. And there's fantastic places to hike around Mexico City, which you might not have time. But if anyone in the audience has more time to explore around Mexico City, there's a few places that you can hike around. And we have pretty high mountains in Mexico. So you should also have to be prepared for, hiking Mexico's mountains. So there's the Iztaccíhuatl one. That's the second, like tallest one. Well, it's actually the third one, but the second that you can actually hike in Mexico. You have to have a little bit of preparation, and it's normally it's a 2-day trip, trip. Like you have to stay over one night and kind of get used to the height and stuff like that. But you can also go, like if it's more like a 1-day trip or something like that, you can go to Nevado de Toluca, and that's also pretty high, but it's amazing. It's a dormant volcano, and then it has like 2 lake craters, and it's just fantastic. And you can just go like for 1 day, and it's also challenging, but it probably doesn't need as much like preparation as the Iztaccíhuatl, which is way higher. So yeah.
24 hours is not a lot of time to do all that, but I know that Winfield, how many days did you spend down there?
I was there for almost 6 days. We ended up extending because there was so much to see and do. We went down to Mexico City for my wife's 30th birthday and absolutely loved it. Everything that you just covered and more. The Anthropological Museum, we were there for almost 4 hours and still couldn't get through it all before it closed. There was so much to see and do. It's amazing. The calendar obviously is the highlight, but really fantastic overview of all of the different groups and ethnographies of people and from Mexico, and the diversity of people as well. Absolutely fantastic. As you mentioned, some of the hiking, we went out to Teotihuacan, to the pyramids, and that's a little bit outside the city, maybe an hour and a half or so, but definitely something that should be on everyone's list. And we also went to Teposlan, which is the one of the magic Puebla villages, cities, which has a shrine on the top to the Aztec god of pulque. And definitely sampled the pulque, made it to the top of the shrine. Unfortunately, it was closed due to COVID. Didn't deter families. And I mean, it was amazing how many little children there were climbing these slippery rocks just straight up. And but it was a fantastic experience. So wholeheartedly recommend Mexico City. Definitely defied a lot of the stereotypes and various aspects of just Mexico in general, whether it be from a safety perspective or any other perspective.
Yeah, that's it. I would say it's pretty safe to travel around Mexico. And yeah, like it's a very good point that you're mentioning, and thanks for mentioning that. Yeah.
No, definitely. And I can't say enough about it, Chris. You're going to have a lot to see and do. I would also say you got to check out the Zocalo, whether it be from James Bond or
Yeah,
just
that's a good
for
one too. That's it. I love, like Templo Mayor, which is like the ruins also from the Aztecs. And it's such an interesting place because, um, just right next to it, or kind of like on top of it, the Spanish like built the cathedral. So in just one place, you have all this, history of the ancient civilizations and the Aztecs and all that. And then you can see also, the history of how the Spanish came and invade, well, pretty much all Latin America. And you can see this in just the one place. And yeah, it's just so interesting to see. So that's in Mexico's historic center. And yeah, that's what pretty much happened everywhere in Mexico. Like you would normally find like ruins from different, like, yeah, mainly like Aztecs or Teotihuacans or any others. And sometimes they will be like covered by, like churches and stuff like that. They were just trying to, cover. And it's interesting. You will see this also in the Cholula, in Puebla, in the Cholula Cathedral. That's also very, very clear in there how they just build a church on top of the ruins and stuff like this.
When I was booking my flight down to Brazil, I debated whether or not to actually do the layover in Mexico City, because ever since Winfield got back and he was telling me all great things, I knew 24 hours is not going to be enough. But I got to say, most of the time when we think of our neighbors to the south, we're up here in the United States, we concentrate our attention on the Yucatan and more of the vacation spots. And, the fact that the country is so massive, rich in culture, in history, amazing, great food, great destinations throughout. Mexico City kind of gets lost in the mix. And although, we don't want to go political or anything like that, it is a lot of the stereotype or the stigma of the safety aspect. So, it's a common misconnection between what you hear on the high level and what you actually experience on the ground. And, we know, and Winfield knows from personal experience, and I hope to find the same thing when I go. Most of the time, people just have a smile on their face. They're happy to see you. They want to, express their culture, and they want to show you what makes Mexico or any other country unique. So,
yeah, that's it. That's it. And I think like it's just like everywhere else you go in the world. Like it's just common sense, like, yeah, like if you're walking around in a place that you don't know, yeah, it's just like, okay, well, I don't know where I'm going, and just try to stick to the places that you know a bit more, or there's more people and stuff like that. I would just, say that, because sometimes it happens like that. Like suddenly you're in a good suburb and or a colonia, as we call it, and then you just walk 2 blocks away from it, and then it's it changes a lot. So they just try and stick to places that you're more familiar and there's more people. And yeah, just the general recommendations, I guess, of traveling elsewhere. Yeah, be mindful of your stuff and stuff like this. But yeah, it's pretty much, yeah, okay.
and as a traveler, your eyes are usually open anyway, because you don't know where you're headed. Everything is brand new. You want to take in as much of your surroundings as possible. So it's usually easier to pick up on that. And I'm sure, you're well traveled. You went backpacking in Europe when you first left. You have experience as a solo female traveler. So did you experience that same type of hospitality and welcomeness when you were out and about? Not only in Europe, but you're in Australia now, and you've been several other places too.
Yeah, I think pretty much, yeah. In most of the countries I've been to, it's been, yeah, pretty much like that. Yeah, I think I haven't particularly had a bad experience in relation to that. But yeah, I would say like Mexican hospitality is quite another level. And yeah, it's something I really love about Mexico, and, the people. And it's just like that, very, welcoming to visitors and tourists. And yeah.
Maybe I can ask you about that. You said the Mexican hospitality is just next level. And I kind of experienced that. I was in, or I should say on Isla Holbox back in October. And just everyone, it just seemed like we were already family with everybody. And that was so cool. And I loved it. What would you say makes the Mexican hospitality that much more, leveled up, I guess you could say?
Well, I guess it's just like making friends and getting to know, other people and stuff like that, like pretty much open to, meet people. And it's also this I don't know, like personality, like I don't know, always kind of being happy and joking and stuff like that, and that it's kind of transmitted as well, yeah, to others, and whether they are visitors or locals or whatever. But yeah, you will find people will always be very, trying to help. Like if you ask them something, and even if they can't speak like English or any other language, they will try to communicate and help, for example. And yeah.
Exactly right. And I think that the hospitality of the Mexican people, Chris hit it right on the head. Both my wife and I were really blown away as to how people, as you said, tried to help regardless of what the situation was. So we actually got stuck at a toll booth, which it's a story for another day. But long story short, we finally made it through with the help of somebody that was willing to change pesos for dollars. It was actually a police officer. So yes, it's one of those things where you go around the world and you're often skeptical of potentially people or trusting people or whatever the case may be. Every encounter that we had, there wasn't any skepticism. People were genuinely happy to see you and interact with you. And so tell us a little bit more about what life is like now for you. You're out in Melbourne. You have your own travel company. Give us a little bit of background about that, and let us know what you think, what's in store for the future for you.
Yeah, well, this is a project that I started just a little bit before the pandemic, which obviously, in a way, it was not the best time for traveling. But I think it's a very good opportunity right now for tourism and traveling in general to make us think about, like creating more conscious decisions when we travel. No, there hasn't been a lot of tourism lately because of lockdowns or restrictions of traveling and stuff like that. And my project is about, well, my friends and mine, it's called Good Moon. And we're basically creating this movement of conscious traveling. So now let's think about, yeah, just supporting the local economies. Like when you travel, try and stay with locals and like off the beaten track kind of places, and also like places that are normally more sustainable in their practices, but also even the way they build the place. Let's say, for example, they use like local elements, or let's say that they use bamboo instead of concrete or cement or stuff like this, or that they hire local people, or that they have like local produce and stuff like that. And when you travel, it's also important to support the local economy in that way. Like if you can support a local cafe, a local restaurant, and go to the markets. There's plenty of markets, and they are amazing in Mexico. And just go there and support the local producers. Yeah, so it's this movement that we're creating. Yeah, we hope that after the pandemic, that we can create these better choices in general, even when we travel, and try to leave the less footprint on our travels, just in general. Yeah.
I think that's something that's in the forefront of a lot of travelers' minds. We've had this conversation numerous times where it's, the difference between slow travel as well as quick, hopping on a plane a couple of times within a week, or having to just jet set around. It definitely has a major impact on the environment, as well as, the different environments that you find yourself in. If you're staying in the large hotel chains throughout the entire time, you're almost going from one little bubble to another, rather than experiencing and really giving back to the community that's hosting you in the first place. So the company that you guys built, Good Moon Travel, it's based in Mexico, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's it. It's in Mexico. And yeah, at this point, we're creating this platform. It's kind of connecting all these amazing like places, kind of like a little bit more unknown in a way, but that have like amazing things to offer with like travelers. So we're kind of building this platform in this way. So yeah, it's based in Mexico at the moment. We're starting with that, but in the future we want to include places that are like in Latin America in general, like Colombia or Ecuador, Chile. Yep.
And as you were saying, the sustainability aspect is really key, and I think that we hear a lot about that. Kind of goes in one ear out the other sometimes. Just depends on who you're talking to. I want to give a shout out to my cousin Raphael Fedi. He actually created a sustainable app whereby you can track your daily goings and comings, I guess is the easiest way to put it, and your uses and things of that nature. It's called EV, and it's something that might fit very well within your model or otherwise. But it's something that draws people's attention to their routine and how they can go about changing it, whether or not you're a full-time traveler or somebody that just enjoys traveling on a different schedule or just as a vacation.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I guess the way we're calling our platform a little bit is like a sustainable Airbnb. So you know how you go to Airbnb and look for like accommodation and experiences as well. So we're basically offering that, but they all have a certain thing of sustainability in them. So it's not just every hotel. So we're just look for hotels that have this sustainability embedded in it. Also for the experiences, as in like you can go and experience, someone that knows how to do mole or a traditional dish in Mexico, and then you can go there and experience how they do it, or a certain handcraft or something like this. So it's just seeing it as with the local and supporting the local economies again. So yeah, that's pretty much the idea.
I'm glad you brought up experience as well, because usually when you find these more sustainable style of travel accommodations, it is an experience in and of itself. Usually, from what I found at least, it's a little bit off the beaten track as far as location goes. It's not going to be the massive high-rise building that is the hotel. It's going to be more, small, a little bit set back, and it offers a far more authentic viewpoint than anything else. Because I like yourself, Andrea, I love hiking, I love trekking, I love being out in nature, and I think the two go hand in hand as far as sustainability or leave no trace, or just conscious actions as far as your environment goes. So I think it not only offers a unique experience, but there's a positive message behind it too. Overall, I think that's really cool. Are you guys going, you mentioned not only accommodation, but experience, and you're going to be expanding it. Is it right now just centrally located in Mexico City, or can you find it throughout Mexico?
We're working in specific regions at the moment. One of the ones where we have more affiliates or people that can offer these experiences or accommodation is in Riviera Nayarit, which is in the west coast of Mexico. And we have a set of like experiences in different categories. Like it can even be like well-being. It can be, like yoga sessions or sessions with, just to promote your mental health and well-being in general. We have these fantastic like accommodations or affiliates that have accommodations in the middle of the jungle, and they are all sustainable, like solar panels. They use solar panels, and then it's all built with like bamboo, and it's in the middle of the jungle, and it's just very nice. It's just this connection with nature, and it's so different, I guess, to travel like this, like to stay in a big hotel, which you're just trapped in a room, and in these other places you just feel like you're sleeping within nature. Like the showers are just like outside, like you're having your shower, and then you have all the jungle around you, and it's just fantastic. So it's places like this that we want to promote. And just people that are more local and that they have this kind of accommodation cabins like this.
I now understand why Karen wanted to introduce each other, because it goes hand in hand with what we try to do here. Our podcast is Locales Unknown. So we stay away from the resorts, the all-inclusive, the big hotels, and we go exactly what you're describing, into the jungle. Winfield and I, when we're down in Brazil, as well as his wife, we're about to go spend a couple days in the Amazon. So I think that outdoor shower is going to be something that we actually really want and can't have. But, those are the type of experiences that we go for as well. So I know that, you turned your attention to building this with your co-owner or your business partner, but when do you think your mentality really shifted towards this sustainable movement? Is this something that you've always had while being focused on travel?
That's an interesting question. And no, I think my way of traveling really changed during, lots of years of traveling and stuff like that. Like this first backpack trip, for example, that I did to Europe. It was my first chance, to go like across the Atlantic and stuff like that. And I wanted to see and experience everything. So I was a very fast traveler then, like, oh, I want to see everything. And I packed up pretty much like 13 countries. No, it was 8 countries and 13 different places in like a month or a month and a half. And it's like, obviously I started like that. It was like, oh, I want to see everything. I don't know when I will have the opportunity to travel again like this. And I pretty much packed everything in a month, And now, after, a while traveling and stuff like that, I'm more like, no, like, I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to, stay, like, if I have 3 weeks of holidays or something like this, probably I'll spend it between like 1 or 2 places and, just feel more like a local. And that's also something that changed in my traveling experience. Or like in the beginning, I was just going to the touristic places and you just Google or you ask people and just you go to the touristic places. But then I started liking more the idea of meeting local people and going to places where locals will go. So I started using apps like couch surfing and things like this, which are fantastic in my opinion. Like for people that haven't heard about couch surfing, it's an amazing community of travelers where you can basically stay, in the couch or in a spare room or in a spare mattress of anyone, like for free. And then, you can give back to the community in certain ways as well. Not only by bringing someone into your house as well, but maybe you can be their tour guide or like stuff like this. That's how I started shifting, like, oh, this is such a cool way to meet a local, and then they take you to the places where they will normally go. And I found that way more like meaningful, and it's more rich. And just to have that opportunity to connect with them, like I don't have to go to all the mainstream places, like just sitting down in a local restaurant with this person and this person telling me how they grew up or what they do in their daily lives. Like it tells me way much more about the place and the culture and everything in general. So yeah, it's obviously been a big transition to go from this fast travel to a more slow travel. And then yeah, I started realizing, well, it's like tourism, it's such a force of good. Like if we do it well, like it can help to end a lot of inequalities in the world. Even like it can be really a force of good, and I'm a believer of that. So that's how I kind of started with the idea, like, okay, how can we make tourism a more sustainable thing that can benefit more people? And that's how it started. And then yeah, now here I am. And yeah, now Lucia and I keep working on the idea. Obviously we have been shifting a bit the ideas, especially with with what happened with COVID and stuff like that. So yeah, we're still in that point of figuring out the best way to offer these experiences and accommodation to people. But I think we're going on the right track. And yeah, we are very aligned to the sustainable development goals from the UN and stuff like this. So yeah, we've been reading a lot and understanding a lot about this. So yeah, it's totally been a whole journey. But yeah, we're getting there. And I think we're doing something good and different for the traveling community in general. And I think just talking about this, it creates just a good movement. No, it's just starting to create this mindset, this change of mindset for people to try and make different decisions when they travel and just more conscious of what they choose while traveling. And that's already, fantastic.
Oh, definitely. And I think that that's one of those things where you start off with a big picture idea, but then you get more granular and you kind of drill down. And as you said, building those relationships on the ground with people, finding, and that's something that I wanted to ask you about as well. Kind of how do you identify places or individuals that you would like to work with? What is your process for determining what their strengths are in terms of in the environmental and sustainable aspects?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, we have a certain list of, things that can make a place sustainable. And, sustainability is not only about, using solar panels or, the type of material where how they build their place, but it's also about their practices, how they even, the choices they make, and if they are aligned to these values and mindsets. So we normally, like many of them, it's because we have traveled also around Mexico, so we get to know these places ourselves. And then, it's sometimes like having a chat and a conversation with the owner of the place, and then you can see if, that person is kind of aligned to this, like being respectful with nature and stuff like this. And then you can see if they really follow these kind of practices, because sometimes also a lot of hotels or accommodation, they can say, oh yeah, we are sustainable, but they are just using it as a, like probably like a marketing kind of thing. So yeah, it's always important, to go and really experience the place by ourselves, and have a chat with the owners and how they created that place and what, I think that has been a good one. But yeah, we definitely have this list of things that are aligned with the, as I mentioned before, with the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN, and it goes there. It's very broad. No, it's very broad. So it's difficult to standardize it as well. But as long as they can tell us how they support, and how they are respectful of, nature and in their practices, then it's fine. Like, yeah.
Well, before you mentioned couch surfing, and I think that's just a prime example of the attitude and culture of a traveler, because it's all built on trust and hospitality. And, I think that goes a long way. Also in line with that, something that I was thinking of when you were telling us about the evolution of your travels and how you came to form Good Moon. Have you heard of woofing or workaway?
Yeah, definitely. And I have done some work away, even especially in my own country. I did work away, which sometimes it's strange because normally you tend to do work away like overseas or not in your own country. That's interesting, because that's how I also, got to know all these fantastic places, But yeah, work away is fantastic. So same, I will explain just, for people to use it if they are interested. But it's basically a platform where you can volunteer for different, projects, and it's quite varied. Like you can volunteer in a farm, but you can also volunteer, teaching a language in a school, or there's so many projects in there. And normally they will offer accommodation and or food as well. So that's a fantastic way also to discover something. It's good that you just touched on this, because that's how I became more involved into the sustainability part, I guess. Like I did a very nice workaway experience in Mexico, in Riviera Nayarit, in a permaculture farm. And I wanted to learn more about sustainability and all these different practices of, like it's like the new agriculture, or more sustainable or permanent agriculture. And I was just fascinated about the whole thing. And yeah, that's actually where this idea started, when I was doing work away, in this amazing farm, permaculture farm in Riviera Nayarit. And I was doing also some community work with the local people there, and it was just fantastic. And that's where, all the things connected, and everything in my head was just like, yeah, I think, this is, what I want to do. And it connects my passion of traveling with, this part of, supporting people and stuff like that. So yeah, that was very good. Very good outcome from my workaway experience.
I had a feeling that you've had some experience with Workaway, because I did one in New Zealand in Kerry, only for about a week. It was working on a farm, and just the volunteers and myself, with being one of them, we all sat around. We had very similar conversations to this one about giving back to the communities, how it's just a totally different form of traveling to begin with, and immersing yourself in culture, and not really just visiting and leaving without giving back to the people that have hosted you. To me, and this is something that was brought up many times, how I see it with traveling is, it's like going to someone's house and not thanking them for hosting you, or not bringing something or contributing. A lot of the times people will just come in, check out what's going on in someone else's house, and then leave, as far as visiting a country, but they won't be hospitable, they won't say thank you, they won't participate or contribute. So it was very similar. That's why Workaway just popped up into my head. So I'm not surprised that's where you got your start as far as this direction goes. And I think it's amazing. What you're doing is amazing. Anyone listening that has an idea of maybe a place that might be a good fit for Good Moon, we of course want to make sure that they can get in touch with you. And we'll put all your links in the show notes as well, and make sure that everyone knows your Instagram and your website and so on and so forth. But, at this time, what we want to do is our signature lightning round, where we ask you 10 questions. And then whatever comes to mind, you just go ahead and give us the answers if you're ready.
Yeah, cool.
All right, let's get started. If you had one wish, what would it be?
I guess that when people travel, they can just create more conscious choices of traveling, and that traveling becomes a force of good.
I love that. And which country do you want to visit the most, and why?
One of the countries that is on my top list right now of places to visit is Turkey. And I find it very interesting because of its location. It's just, forming a land bridge between like Asia, Africa, and Europe. So I think it's just an amazing mix of culture and traditions and architecture. But also the landscape is quite unique. Like I've seen these, pictures of Cappadocia and stuff like this. And it's just like, oh, I want to go there and probably hike in there. And it's just very unique landscape. And yeah, well, I would also love to try their sweet delights and, the baklavas and stuff like that. So yeah, I think, Turkey is on my list.
That was another layover destination for me. Not enough time there. But Winfield, you spent a couple days in Turkey, haven't you?
I have, yes. Yeah, there's a lot to. I only scratched the surface with Istanbul, Troy, and the Dardanelles, where the now, why am I escaping the name? My Aussie friends are not going to be happy. But anyway, that was the that whole Strait of Dardanelles during World War I was a flashpoint, and there was a huge conflict there. But no, there's so much to see. Antalya, as you mentioned, Cappadocia, Ankara, in the capital in the middle of the country, and of course all the way to the east. So there's very good choice. Lots to see and do.
Oh, or I should say, what is one thing you want to still do in Mexico?
There's still a few of them. So probably, going up one of these, the highest mountain in Mexico, which is Pico de Orizaba, can be a very challenging one. But yeah, that needs a lot of preparation. That's one of them. And I also want to do this nice hike across the central desert of Baja California. So that's like you go for 110 Ks, across the central desert. So from the Pacific to the Sea of Cortez. And that's probably a 3-day hike. And yeah, I would really like to do that as well. But yeah, then again, I'm into hiking a lot. So yeah, that's why, all my things that I want to do, it's related to like hiking and stuff like this.
That's unique though.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's quite unique. Yeah.
And not to jump the gun on our fun fact, but since you mentioned the Sea of Cortez, the San Andreas Fault actually starts at the tip at Cabo there, which I didn't know until recently. So that's interesting. Also, there's quite a bit of a change in the tone of the water, the watercolor. Apparently, I've never been down there, but very, very excited to go at some point.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, me too. I'm quite excited to go to that area as well. I haven't experienced that area yet in Mexico. So yeah, that's on my top things to do in Mexico.
Soon enough, for sure. So, Andrea, what is the strangest thing you've ever eaten?
Well, this was probably actually in Mexico, but don't think that we have a lot of exotic food. I was just, taking some friends to the San Juan Market, which is in Mexico City. They sell lots of like exotic things, so we tried the scorpions and tarantulas. But something very common to eat in Mexico, it's like bugs like chapulines, like grasshoppers, and they are fantastic. I just love them. We eat them like in tacos or just with a little bit of salt and lemon, and it's just fantastic. But yeah, for scorpion and tarantulas, it was a bit like, they don't taste bad, but it's just to know that you're eating, the leg or something is just like, it feels weird on it. Yeah.
What was the name of that market?
So it's called San Juan Market.
Okay.
So yeah, if you can have a look when you go there, that's a good
I've
one.
had scorpion in Bangkok. I don't know if I'd do it again, but grasshoppers are always good. When I was in Hobosh, I had some mezcal, which gave me the confidence to eat the bug at the bottom. So that was one of the strangest things I've had in Mexico, at least.
Liquid courage.
That's right.
I'd like to take credit for that, Chris, for pushing you in that direction.
I'll give you that
credit. How good mezcal is.
I'll give you the credit. So what's your favorite thing about Mexico, Andrea?
Oof, also hard to tell because there's so many things, but I think just the richness of culture. We have a lot of variety and diversity in everything. So I love, the colors, the traditions, and how it mixes with, the kind of like old and new and all this diversity. And every single state in Mexico is so different, like from the food to the traditions. Like it's like talking about, Mexican food. It's like saying European food. Like, no, you should be talking about like the state's food, because every single state has its own traditional dish, its traditional cultures, traditional like dresses or dances, traditions, everything. So I love that diversity. I think we're in general like very proud of that, and it's a proud of not like a nationalistic thing, like related to like, oh, like we are Mexico, like it's very different. We're just proud about our culture and our cultural background and stuff like that. So yeah, and just the resilient people, it's also something that I find fascinating about Mexico, like our resilience in general and the way we perceive life.
Well, this next question kind of ties into that as well, and we should probably ask for each and every state, but what is the must-see attraction in Mexico?
Yeah. Oh, hard one to say just one as well, but I would recommend people to visit one of the ruins, probably of the Mayans. It's one of the most fascinating ancient like civilizations, in my opinion. So probably I would recommend like Palenque in Chiapas. So we have also Chichen Itza, which is obviously one of the new seven wonders of the world, and is like it's amazing. That pyramid is fantastic. But it's so touristic, and I find Palenque a little bit more like you feel like you're in the jungle, because it hasn't been completely cleared up as Chichen Itza. So like you're walking around and just the main temple has been cleared up, but the rest is just a little bit of jungle. So it feels more magical, and it's just fantastic to understand how they build all those places and what the Maya civilization is about. And yeah, I would definitely recommend to go to, yeah, some of the Mayan ruins. There are so many. There are over 200 across Mexico. But yeah, I think from the ones I've been to, Palenque is probably one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, incredible. I was in the Yucatan. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to the Mayan ruins, but anyone that I speak to that have actually been there, nothing but amazing things to say about it. Winfield, have you made your way over there? Have you seen them?
High on the
Not yet.
list though. The whole Riviera have yet to see.
All right. What is one tip you'd have for travelers like myself coming to Mexico?
Coming to Mexico, well, try and visit the local places. Try to travel like a local and just go to the stalls in the street and try the food in there. I can later send you some places where you can go, some good food stalls, because they are sometimes in the most random places, like underneath a bridge or in a mechanic shop, like a mechanic workshop and stuff like this. But yeah, I think that can be a good advice. Just try and go to where the locals go to.
I love it. Common theme here. Locales unknown. We actually say travel like a local. So I'm so happy you just said that. We kind of covered this in the past, but what motivates you to travel?
I guess the sense of freedom and going out of my comfort zone and just understanding about other cultures and other peoples. And it makes me so much open-minded, and I just love discovering the world in general and discovering what other people's stories are like. And yeah, I think it has made me a more aware and tolerant person in general. Like, it's just, yeah, I think traveling touches you in so many different ways and can really transform you in so many different things. So yeah, that's traveling for me. It's good to out of your comfort zone and just that sense of freedom.
Yeah, it could become addicting.
Yeah, that's true.
Another common theme on this show.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to take a different approach on this question here. We usually ask what mode or modes of transportation you recommend for Mexico, but maybe we can tie it in a little bit into the sustainability element of it. So what modes of transportation just across Mexico or in general would you recommend, keeping in mind that sustainability effort?
Yeah, well, obviously, if you come from overseas, you're anyway going to have to travel by plane to one of the main airports. But I guess, like, once you are, in your destination, and it goes related to the slow travel as well, like, try and explore a region as much as you can, like, instead of, moving around, like, to way different places. So when you stay in a certain region, then you have more sustainability options to travel, like even go on a bike or or take a bus. Like, buses are pretty good in Mexico, so you will find pretty much a bus station in every town and city that you go. Well, at least you're sharing a vehicle, rather if you go by car or something like this. So yeah, I guess, yeah, I would just recommend that, like, just go by bus, or if you're in a region where you can, like, cycle or stuff like that, that would be the recommendation.
Get out and walk, everybody.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, that's the best, of course.
All right, final question. We always say the best for last here. If there's one experience you could relive in your life, what would it be?
Oh, I think maybe that backpacking trip, the first one I did. Probably I would change some things, like not doing it so fast, but just that, like, first feeling of freedom. And, like, I remember being, like, I was sitting in the train, like, I bought this aerial pass which basically can take you everywhere in Europe, and I had the itinerary, and I basically could, like, pick whichever country I wanted to go to. Like, okay, where do I want to sleep today? Like, do I want to go to, like, Belgium or France or Luxembourg? Okay, like, I have I have it here in my hands, and it's just my choice. Like, where am I going to sleep today? Where am I going to visit today? And just that first feeling of wow, and I earned this, like it's something that I had in my mind for a while, and it took me years of saving and stuff like that. So for me, yeah, just discovering that I can do all these things, and just it was just fantastic. So yeah, just probably that.
So everyone's just going to be hearing the recording of this, but we're doing this over a video, and I can see your eyes and your smile and your face light up when you have that memory. So I think you picked the right one there. And I think we would both agree that that's one of ours too. That first experience of freedom and travel, and the taste for adventure that you get. That's where the addiction starts. And here we are years later, all talking about it. So, Andrea, we really appreciate your time today. It was amazing to talk to you, learn about Good Moon Travel. Before we let you go, though, we definitely want to make sure that we tell everyone where they can find you, your business, all over the internet.
Of course, yeah, you can find us in both Instagram and Facebook at Good Moon Travel. And yeah, our website is www.goodmoontravel.com. And yeah, just join the sustainable traveling movement.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and hope to see you out there somewhere in the world. Looking forward to it. The journey has just begun.
Sure, we will. Yeah, thanks so much, Winfield and Chris, for having me here.
Thank you, Andrea. Take care.
So without further ado, we're back with another fun fact. Sustainable travel is what the topic of the episode really hit on. And in that regard, we have to remember that travel is always a balance. Travel actually accounts for 25% of the world's new jobs, or 10.3% GDP of the global economy. But as Andrea mentioned, we have to make sure that we're doing it in a way that is not only sustainable, but that strikes that balance between going to places that are off the beaten track, staying with people that are conscious about the environment, while also exploring new places in the best way possible. Till next time.
Well, there you have it. Another fun fact about a locale unknown. Thank you, Winfield, and thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode with us. We started this podcast in the hopes of shedding some light on the various destinations out there in the world that might be more off the beaten path. And we're hoping we're accomplishing that goal by bringing on our friends and our various guests to give us some insight about their various locations and what to do in the areas. So if you like what you hear, make sure that you follow us on all the podcast platforms as well as the social media platforms out there, because we're back every single week. I wouldn't want you to miss what we have coming up. We already have a couple great guests in the pipeline that we are very excited for, and I think you guys will be too. So we are on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on all the other platforms. Locales Unknown. Go ahead and hit the search. When you find us, be sure to hit the follow or subscribe button. And if you're an Apple Podcast user out there, please let us know how we're doing. We're building this for you guys. So scroll down to the bottom of Apple Podcasts and go ahead and leave us a review and maybe some comments there. Also on social media, we are very active on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook. We have our YouTube channel, so feel free to go ahead and drop us a line. We have our website, localesunknown.com. You can find all of our episodes there. And if you want to reach us directly, we have our email address, contact@localesunknown.com. Maybe you have some suggestions for us. Maybe you want to introduce us to someone that you think might be a great fit for the show. We are all ears. So once again, thank you so much for listening. We'll be right back here next week with another great episode somewhere out there in the world. Stay tuned.